I want to play some portions of this. This is a couple of days old. So Pete Buttigieg went on the, I believe it's called the Breakfast Club podcast, and was asked some very interesting questions. I'm going to play some clips here to see how he handles these interesting questions. Spoiler alert, a little cringy. But anyway, I'm gonna play this here. He's asked two questions that I've got highlighted up here. One is, who is president, Joe Biden or Joe Manchin? A very important question that Charlemagne even asked Kamala Harris. Remember, Kamala Harris had a fucking freak out meltdown. It's Joe Biden! Yeah! That's a silly question, it's Joe Biden! The president, Joe Biden! Well, if the president was Joe Biden, Kamala, then, like, what the fuck's going on in this country, right? So anyway, he asked that same question to Pete Buttigieg. Later on in the show, he tells Pete Buttigieg that black voters feel a little bit mistreated by the Democrats, and Pete has some very bizarre answers. Let's watch.
Dominating the world right now.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, but Democrats could have the power if you could get everybody on the same page. Last time you were here, I asked you who's the real president, Joe Manchin or Joe Biden. Clearly President Biden is the president, but Joe Manchin has been blocking Biden's agenda since the last time.
I have to say this. The idea that Charlemagne feels it to be necessary to make an obvious statement, clearly Joe Biden is the president. Why does he say that? Probably because Kamala fucking yelled at him like a fucking child the last time he asked someone this question. Like, the obvious point of asking who's president, Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, is it's a rhetorical question. The rhetorical port of that is to say that Joe Manchin is clearly dictating everything that happens. Okay? The idea that you have to say clearly Joe Biden is president, like, no fucking shit. Like, duh, motherfucker. That's not what, I'm not trying to talk shit to Charlemagne. It's just the idea that anyone would be dumb enough to misinterpret that question. That is to say, Kamala Harris is dumb enough to say, right? Like, the idea that anyone is dumb enough to misinterpret such an obviously rhetorical question. But anyway, what does Pete Buttigieg say?
We've had a conversation. Are you frustrated with him yet?
Look, I'm frustrated anytime we don't get our way automatically in Congress. But
it's such a clear question. Are you frustrated with Joe Manchin? Why? This is why Democrats lose. When Donald Trump or a Republican is frustrated with someone, you know what they do? They go out and campaign against them. They go out and do a giant public relations battle for the policies to get everyone against that person to bully them into doing what they want. Democrats, Joe Manchin doesn't really like this, so I guess we'll just, kill another 100,000 people because Joe Manchin said so. We're just going to let another 50,000 people die of COVID. We're just going to let another 100,000 people die of COVID. Because Joe Manchin said so. Joe Manchin wants them to die. I'm not. Am I frustrated with Joe Manchin? I'm frustrated whenever. Like, this is weakness. This is how you lose. This is how you fucking lose an election, epic style.
But I also get that it doesn't work that way. And you're talking about one senator, a senator, by the way, who is Democratic senator from a state that Donald Trump won by like 40 points. And we should be talking about 100 senators.
You know what we should also be talking about? What the fuck happened in the 2020 election with the goddamn Senate? Why is Susan Collins still in the Senate? Why is Tom Tillis? Why is Tom Tillis still in the Senate? That's what we should be asking. Where's the Democratic Senate, caucus autopsy on what the fuck happened in 2020 with these layup races, like in North Carolina and in Maine, and there's a couple, and what was it that the governor of Montana was running for Senate and he won the governorship before and ran for Senate and lost. What the fuck was going on in 2020, by the way? Oh, I know what was going on. Everyone put all of their money into that Amy McGrath candidate who had no chance of beating Mitch McConnell. Zero chance. Right? They put all of their money into that and nowhere else. So I'm wondering what the fuck was going on in 2020 and what the fuck is going on in 2022. If their answer is, oh, we need to expand our majority, okay, I'm listening. How are we going to do that? Oh, we do that by saying that Joe Manchin's my friend. We should after the 2020 election, we should have had a 55 fucking Democrat majority in the goddamn Senate. We should have had 57. Some predictions were saying that we should have had 57. Instead, we got 50. Are you fucking joking? So that's part one. Part two is, again, why are you unable to criticize someone for single-handedly destroying Joe Biden's entire agenda? Part three is, why doesn't Joe Biden do things from the executive branch that he campaigned on, like decriminalizing cannabis nationwide? You don't need Joe Manchin for that. So anyway, let's keep going.
There's 99 other senators too, right? And there has been uniform Republican opposition to so many of these things we're trying to do on the voting, on things like extending the child tax credit. And
it's not even about what's right. It's about let's block
anything. It feels like a brick wall, except I will say on our
Joe Manchin also feels like a brick wall. The idea that Joe Manchin is he's a Democrat. He's a Democrat. Oh yeah, he's a Democrat. He's also a fucking brick wall, bitch. And that's the fucking problem. Like, if it were a situation where Democrats only had 49 seats and Republicans genuinely controlled the Senate, then maybe they would actually campaign to try to win the Senate. But as it stands right now, they're not even really campaigning on trying to win the Senate. The Senate right now, what we need in 2022 as a country to stop fucking fascism from overtaking everything, by the way, is we need Democrats to expand the fucking majority in the House and the Senate and then push the fucking conservative losers aside and say, fuck you. Now, it's possible that the rotating villain will change and then it'll be like the Gang of Seven or whatever it's going to be. Like it was when Obama was president. It's possible. But how do we know until we get there? Democrats aren't campaigning to win the Senate. They don't care. They're not doing any fundraising. They're not doing any mass mobilization for anything. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. There is no money being spent on state and local parties for the Democrats. They're hoarding it all for these federal bullshits. They're only giving it to their federal corporate-approved candidates. What we need is mass mobilization. What we need is mass voter turnout. What we need is money to get volunteers and to maybe pay people to get people to come out. And they're not doing that. The only time that they ever mention mass mobilization is when someone asks, oh, what about Joe Manchin? Oh, well, we need to expand the majority. Oh, what are you going to do about that?
Our transportation bill, right? So we got 18 senators to cross party lines. I mean, it's not all.
Why did they cross party lines? Why? Because the fucking BIF was garbage. The bipartisan infrastructure bill was garbage. So you've already established the Republican Party is a brick wall of evil. Huh. So they're all evil. I agree. The Republicans are fascist fucking goons. They are terrorists. Fuck them. So why would a terrorist vote for your legislation? Maybe that's an indictment on the legislation. Maybe that means your legislation is fucking trash, which the BIF was. It was a corporate handout bill. Didn't give nearly enough money to actually do the infrastructure overhaul we needed. And now what it's going to do is kick the can down the road. Meanwhile, bridges are collapsing all across the country, like in Pennsylvania, for example. If all the money in the BIF went to all the bridges in Pennsylvania to refix everything in Pennsylvania, they still wouldn't be able to do that. Let alone, how are we going to fucking do all of our plumbing all across the fucking country? The BIF was trash. It gave most money to corporations. They're going to do a shit job, and they're not going to do anywhere near the amount of mass infrastructure overhaul that we need in this country. People are still going to be drinking poisoned water all across the country. People love to say, oh, does Flint have clean water yet? Does the United States have clean water yet? In most zip codes in this country, water is poisoned by lead, by chemicals like chloroform, chlorine, PFAS is in the water supply all across the country. Not just in Flint or else you ever hear on the news. This is everywhere in this country. Look up your zip code and water quality. But let's keep going.
Often you see, everybody from Joe Manchin to Bernie Sanders to Mitch McConnell kind of agreeing to do something. It was a little more partisan in the House, but even there.
That's not, if Mitch McConnell agrees with you, you're not doing something good. If you sell out your values to get Mitch McConnell on board, that's not something to be proud of. This idea, hey, bipartisan, it's bipartisan. The parties are working together. Yes, they are. What? You can't say the Republicans are garbage, they're brick wall, they're evil, and then say, oh, but we got them to support us. That's not good. If neo-Nazis are voting for your legislation, I got news for you. It's not good legislation.
A lot of Republican House members came over.
Now, if you want to say also real quick that it's better than nothing, maybe, but if you're going to say that, I need to hear something that's going to produce a second BIF or whatever infrastructure package. I want to hear something that's how we get to the next part. You can't just say, oh, look, we did it. Is it better than, I don't know, than me jumping off a bridge or me walking over a bridge and it collapsing and me dying in the rubble? Maybe. But you know what else is better than that? Being in a fucking Saw movie and being one of the people that survive. That's what's better than that. Like, just saying, oh, it's better than nothing doesn't mean anything. Eating a candy bar is better than starving. Does that mean that the candy bar is going to fucking bring me back to full health? No.
And I think it shows that, again, if you can demonstrate that there's a chance to take care of the basics, you can actually build some bridges there, literally, but also politically. But yes, look.
Okay, so where are the bridges being built? I need to see some evidence. Where's the evidence? The bridge. Oh, well, we did the BIF, and that paved the way to get more bipartisan infrastructure. Huh? Where's the evidence of that?
Look, if we're going to talk about frustration with Congress, let's talk about how everyone's voting. The insulin thing, right? There was a bill to lower the cost of...
Yeah, and who opposed that? The Republicans.
For Americans. And so many legislators voted against it, and it wasn't Democrats that we had the big problems with there.
I agree with all of that, but I think, as a voter, when I see hundreds of members of Congress who are Democrats silent when you see the mansions and cinemas blocking progress, it makes me wonder, is everybody complicit?
Good question. If there was a mass popular mobilization campaign to get these policies across, marches on Washington, etc., but there's not. And Democrats could be organizing that, but they're not. Instead, Democrats are attacking the left flank of the party, saying, defund the police, it's killing us. Ah! Maybe you're losing in elections because nobody fucking knows what the fuck you're doing. And you're not marketing your agenda at anyone. Every time you market your agenda, it's steeped in the fact that you failed every step of the way.
So I would say everybody's standing up for what they think we ought to do in the best way they know how. And, if somebody's holding out on you, going up to them and poking them in the eye is probably not going to help you get the result that you want. There are times that, and it's not just, any one senator. There are many times that I've been very frustrated.
First of all, I subscribe to the theory that if Joe Biden really wanted to get the Build Back Better Act passed, that he would threaten Joe Manchin's family with prosecution because Joe Manchin's family has been implicated in crimes, prosecutable crimes. I subscribe to the idea that Joe Biden, if he really wanted to get Build Back Better passed, he would call up Joe Manchin or go to his office, maybe whip his dick out LBJ style, and say, if you don't vote for this, your daughter's going to jail, and I'm going to fucking tell everyone that you're a corrupt piece of shit. And we're going to publish all of your campaign donation records from big corporations and fossil fuel companies. And, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think if you threaten Joe Manchin's family with prosecution, you could get him to vote. It's not like you walk up and poke his eye and go, and and then you walk away. That's not, no one's advocating for that.
That I was pretty sure I had the right way to go, and somebody was standing in the way. But the way to maneuver through that is to try to build, not just try to convince people, right? But also try to build the public support.
But they haven't been doing that. This is my problem, is every time you press a Democratic politician, like on anything about how they do politics, it always resorts to, oh, but we need more mass mobilization. Oh, but we need more people in Congress. Okay, how do we do that? Oh, it's all you, Bo. What? No, but you're in office. You have the levers of power. You have name recognition. You're going on all these shows. Everyone knows your name. Use that to your advantage and do fundraising to pay people to do canvassing, to do door knocking, pay for people to be bused to the polls so that they can vote, pay for people to take a vacation day on election day so that they... But they're not doing that because they don't care. It's just an excuse. And that's my fucking problem. I've worked on Democratic campaigns. I've done canvassing. And I've had, every time I've done it, I've had to pay all of my own expenses or get outside fundraising to do so. There was never a situation where I've worked with the Democratic Party in any way where the party itself was funding anything other than like maybe literature to hand out. So, I don't know, man. If you really think that we need a public mass media campaign, maybe you should, hey, you're on the Breakfast Club. Maybe you should start it right now. But instead, it's all just excuses and deflection. Whoops.
Makes it clear that this is where we've got to go.
But how do you do that without calling out the people that are blocking progress?
Well, look, we can...
Because that's one thing the GOP does very well. You know, Trump would have had 1 million nicknames for Manchin in cinema already.
Yeah, but, I mean, that didn't necessarily get him his way either, right? It got attention, sure. I mean, it...
What does that mean, it didn't get him his way? Like, if you want to, like, go, like, policy by policy on what Trump got through... I mean, right now, let's just talk about right now. Trump is currently excising people from the GOP who don't believe in his conspiracy theories. Once again, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. He is going around the country campaigning against people in Republican primaries who do not support his election conspiracies. Why don't Democrats do that? If you don't support Build Back Better, primary you. If you are a corporate sellout shill, primary. Democrats would never do that. Joe Biden would never do that. Pete Buttigieg would never do that. Because those are the people, these are the people that we're talking about, the ones that control the Democratic Party right now. Those are the people that need to be primaried. So they would never go out there and say we need the primary people.
It got us all talking about him. But did it really help move an agenda? I would say, I mean, you look at what they set out to do, what they said they were going to do. They really did have control of all the levers of power, and they couldn't get rid of Obamacare, for example. We were just with President Obama and President Biden this week celebrating the ACA. And the reason they couldn't get rid of it, I think, is that it had made such a concrete difference, positive difference in American lives, that America basically wouldn't let them. Mm-hmm. And, we can vent all we want about this or that member of Congress.
Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead to another part here, because this is just like a bunch of nonsense, and he tries to deflect the conversation. But I've got another timestamp here with a good question.
I think could idea for this great elder in our community, Dr. Claude Anderson. I put it in front of you before, but he has this idea for this high-speed railroad system. I think could
I love high-speed
really be
rails.
built. But you do realize, Pete, a lot of black people feel like Democrats have kept no promises since they've been in office.
Really?
Yes. Reverend Island said that.
So this part of the interview has been going crazy viral in right-wing media. This is how I found about it, honestly. But I want to play the whole conversation here because, again, it's important to understand why Democrats, as they are, the corporate-controlled, stupid-ass bitch Democrats, are failures. Again, so I want to play this clip again. Just the idea that Pete Buttigieg is going to say, whoa! Like, he just totally didn't, he's never heard this before. He's never... Oh, what? Black voters? They're not a fan of what we're doing? Whoa. What? Whoa. Like, he's like in utter awe at the idea.
You do realize, Pete, a lot of black people feel like Democrats have kept no promises since they've been in office.
Really?
Yes. Reverend Allen said that a million times. I'm sure he'll be pressing you about that tomorrow.
Look, I get it, because the work is not done. But the reason I say really is we just passed one of the biggest pieces of infrastructure legislation.
It's not. Again, one of the biggest doesn't mean anything. If the whole history of the country is that it's garbage, being the best fucking, like, I don't know, like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's the best. Well, what do you compare it to? Oh, there's no other infrastructure bill that we can compare it to because this is like the first one of its kind. Oh, so it's the best. That's like if like you try to do like it's like you're going for like a Guinness World Record, but you made up a new category and like your first recorded attempt. Well, it's the best. It's not nearly enough. It's not what you campaigned on. It's a corporate handout bill and it doesn't actually help people's lives. And let's say the BIF helps anyone anywhere. It's not going to be seen for another 5 to 10 years because it's a 10-year timeline. So, and also, once again, it needs to be said. Now, I'm a marijuana enthusiast. I'm high right now. I'm actually not, but I usually am. But I like saying that. But anyway, why did Kamala Harris and Joe Biden say that they would decriminalize on the federal level marijuana when they got in office? Now, note, by the way, that when they said this, they specifically would say so at rallies where a majority of the people in the rally were black. Why would they specifically try to campaign to black voters and say we're going to decriminalize cannabis? Why? If they weren't going to do it, I mean, you don't need Congress. You can just do that with an executive order. You can change the scheduling of marijuana with an executive. You don't need Joe Manchin. You don't need the Republicans. You are Joe Biden. You can do it yourself. Pete Buttigieg could go to the cabinet meeting and say, yo, we got to do this. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It has to happen. Come on. But they're not doing it. So that's one promise that they could do with just an executive order. Now, again, Joe Biden, let's talk about policing as well. Another thing that they would tell a lot to black people. Now, I want to play this clip here from Joe Biden because I have this one. This one's crazy to me. Joe Biden, after winning the 2020 election, right? After winning the 2020 election, Joe Biden went to a call with black voters that supported him, and when he won the election, he was asked, can we trust you to get police reform? And this is what he had to say.
I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it.
This is what he said. He was literally yelling and clapping at black activists on a Zoom call saying, why the fuck are you questioning me? That was leaked, by the way. That was not supposed to be public. And that's why he was yelling at them, because he thought it was going to be private, but then they leaked it because they thought his behavior was abhorrent. So, all right, you said you're going to decriminalize marijuana. You said you were going to do police reform. And yet, recently, just a couple weeks ago, Joe Biden announced he wants to triple police funding. Huh? So, 2 years ago, you said, don't question me, black people. I mean what I say when I say it. Now, he's doing the exact opposite of what he said, huh? The president controls what the president's budget request is. They're the president. They control what their version of the budget request is. Ultimately, Congress and the presidency, they have to get together to decide on the budget. Joe Biden could have said, oh, I think we should maybe keep police funding the same or maybe do some slight defunding in these areas. Maybe, but instead he said, no, let's just across the board triple. You don't need Joe Manchin, right? You need Joe Manchin to pass the congressional budget. You don't need Joe Manchin to request. Like, in order for you to request any amount of reallocation of police resources at all, or to change anything at all, you don't need Joe Manchin to request it. You can request it, and then Joe Manchin can shoot it down. He didn't even fucking request it. He requested higher. He did the exact opposite of what he yelled at black activists for 2 years ago. So, those are just two examples.
Legislation in American history. It was a promise, and it wasn't just a promise that
you did not promise a bipartisan fucking corporate handout. You promised to build back better. That's not what we got. That's not what we fucking got. That's not what you promised black people. That's not what you promised anybody. You didn't promise we're going to work with Republicans to sell everything you want out and then give all of your money to corporations. That's not what you promised. You wouldn't have won an election if you promised that. You lied. It's just that simple. Now, again, I say this because I, given the status of the Republican Party, am left with no choice but to vote for Democrats, which is why I think primaries are the most important aspect of elections. Right? So, I say, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. How do we fix that? Well, expand the majority. Well, how do we expand the majority? Fundraise, and then most importantly, instead of paying for your fucking brunch at fucking Washington, D.C. Cafe number 79, how about instead you give that money to activists on the ground so that they can fucking get people like you elected so that you don't have as many excuses? Anyway, let's keep going.
Biden-Harris administration made, or that us Democrats made in 2020. This is a promise that every president and every Congress has made in some way, shape, or form.
It was, again, this idea that, oh, we passed something that has infrastructure in the name, so therefore it's what we campaign. You did not campaign on giving, well, some would say, when Joe Biden says nothing would fundamentally change, you did campaign on. But you did not tell black voters, oh, okay, so you're going to elect us, and we're going to give all of the tax money that you give, we're going to give them to corporations. Why would black voters vote for you if you were to say that? You didn't campaign on saying that. To black people specifically. You campaigned on, we're going to fix your fucking infrastructure, we're going to reform the police, and we're going to decriminalize marijuana. None of those things have happened. This is just lying. He's lying. Like, it's just straight up lying. It's just like professional liar.
For as long as I've been an adult. And we actually did it.
But those are
no,
big broad
you didn't.
things.
But you didn't do it. That's the thing, is like they're just making it up. It's like you make up, it's like I don't know, it's like you create like a gold star, right? And then you give yourself the gold star and you're like, oh, I did it. Oh, look at the gold star. I got it. Gold star. I'm a perfect noodle.
That's great, but I'm talking about things you campaigned on, like the George Floyd Policing Act, and the fact that our voting rights, man, like 19 states have implemented voter suppression bills. You know that's going to directly impact us the most. And the only strategy Democrats are going to have is we got to go out there and vote in mass numbers.
Yeah.
Now, again, I agree with voting in mass numbers. But again, if Democrats saying we need to get more votes, that doesn't do anything. If your strategy is to tell people to vote for you, that's not a strategy. How are you going to get them to vote for you? By paying people on the ground, funding local and state and local municipal parties, funding them so that they can get people on the ground, and then also actively campaigning on a platform. Just saying, oh yeah, we need people to vote for us. That doesn't, yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
To fight it. That's
right.
not a strategy.
No,
Hope is not a strategy.
Right. Mobilization is a strategy. And these tactics that you're talking about make mobilization harder. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. That work is not done. That work has to.
These tactics you're talking about make mobilization harder. What tactics? Is he referring to maybe saying, oh, Joe Manchin, I'm not satisfied with what you're doing? That's going to make mobilization harder? So let me get this straight. Joe Manchin is blocking progress. And in order for Joe Manchin to not be able to block progress, you need more people in the Senate in the Democratic caucus. Okay. So why would you, if Joe Manchin didn't block progress, you wouldn't need those senators. You wouldn't need them to be elected. You would be able to do that. But Joe Manchin is blocking progress. But you're not allowed to say Joe Manchin's blocking progress, because if you do, then people are going to find there's a reason for them to vote for more Senate Democrats. And so if you give them a reason, then maybe they will vote, and then maybe that Joe Manchin won't. But
to get done, and it's not acceptable where we are right now. I think all of that's true.
Yeah.
I get it.
And you know what really is scary is seeing a lot of women's reproductive rights.
Oh my God.
Regressing, and LGBTQ community, their rights being taken away
Don't get me
state by
started.
state.
Yeah.
Right.
And then this guy's like, did you know I'm gay? I care so much about my trans friends and comrades because I'm gay. Yeah, sure, I've done nothing to protect people. Yeah, sure. I mean, I could use my platform to get mass mobilization campaigns as one of the first gay cabinet officials, if not the first. I can't recall. But I could use my platform to do something. But instead, I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm gay, so I'm gay. I wish saying I'm gay would give people more rights. I wish saying I'm gay would stop Republican legislatures from trying to like send trans people to jail for getting healthcare. I wish saying I'm gay would stop Republicans from sending people to jail for getting an abortion. I wish saying I'm gay was something that you could do. I wish that was some strategy. Saying I'm gay, don't get me started. I'm gay. Did you know that?
Voting rights being taken away state by state, those things are scary. Even in the education system,
Right.
Just not being able to discuss certain things state by state.
Right.
That's a scary thing to me.
Yeah.
And it's like we see it expanding.
No, that's right. And so, again, part of the answer is organizing at the state level because...
Oh, that's the answer. So are you going to fund state and local parties? That's the thing. It's just like, and I'm going to cut it there because it's just like, this is the Democratic politician smarmy garbage bullshit. Is they'll tell you what to do, and they'll tell like you what to do, as if like we're the ones in charge, as if we have the millions and millions of dollars in the DCCC bank, right? How about you fund parties, local and state parties, so that they can do these things? You can't just say, oh yeah, you got to do this if you want it. And then whenever people do it, they did it in 2020. 2020 was a historic voter turnout. And yet, here we are. So we need 2020 and then some? How are we going to expand the base? You need to offer something. Joe Biden, if he would have decriminalized marijuana day one, canceled student loan debt day one, maybe they'd have a campaign to run on. But they've lied at every step of the way. Every single fucking step of the way. Now, once again, don't get me started on the fact that Pete Buttigieg lied about winning the Iowa caucus. Remember that fucking horse shit? Iowa, you shocked the nation. 1% voting is reported in, and by the way, I lost. But remember that? Literally pulled the Trump strategy before Trump. And Democrats were like, oh yeah. To this day, there are people that think Pete Buttigieg won the Iowa caucus. To this day. Talk about fucking conspiracy theories. My God, right? But I can't with these. I can't with this. Like, again, we are fucked as a country. Republicans being an open and proud terrorist neo-Nazi organization that literally tried to destroy the government a year-ish ago, year and change. They tried to literally overthrow the government and kill Democratic politicians and their own politicians that weren't doing it. And you can't win a fucking election against them? You won't even try? What the fuck, man? I feel like I'm the crazy one here. Those motherfuckers literally tried to destroy the government, and you're not even going to invoke the 14th Amendment, Section 3? They've done, like, every step of the way, Democrats have fucked themselves. And they fucked us. And once again, not in the good dick way. If they would have at least had the fucking, like, foresight to fuck us in the good dick way, maybe we'd be having a separate conversation. But they're not. So, I don't know, man. Shit's crazy. But there you go.